Section 1, The Overture, The Crisis of the 21st Century. Welcome to Fluent Minds. Today, we are not just analyzing a book. We are conducting a high-level psychological and neurobiological intervention on your life, your career, and your future. Look around you. We are living in a historical period that future scholars will likely name the Age of Fragmentation. For the first time in human history, your attention, the very core of your consciousness, is a global commodity. There are thousands of the world's most brilliant software engineers in Silicon Valley whose entire professional existence is dedicated to one thing: breaking your focus. They use sophisticated algorithms, color psychology, and variable reward systems to ensure that you never stay on one task for more than a few minutes. We are told that we are connected, but the truth is that we are fractured. We are told that we are multitasking, but the science is clear. We are simply failing at multiple things simultaneously. This constant state of distraction is not just a nuisance. It is a biological catastrophe that is shrinking our collective IQ and destroying our ability to produce anything of lasting value. Today, we strike back. We are embarking on an exhaustive, multi-part masterclass on the definitive manifesto for the modern elite, Deep Work by Cal Newport. Cal Newport is not a life coach or a motivational speaker. He is a theoretical computer scientist at Georgetown University. He looks at productivity through the cold, hard lens of mathematics and neurobiology. His thesis is radical but simple. The ability to perform deep work is becoming increasingly rare. At the exact same time, it is becoming increasingly valuable in our global economy. Therefore, the few who cultivate this skill and then make it the core of their working life will flourish. We are going to deconstruct the deep work hypothesis. We will explore why the modern open office plan is a graveyard for productivity. We will look at the neurobiology of the myelin sheath and how focus literally upgrades your brain's hardware, turning a standard mind into a high-performance machine. We will examine the lives of the giants who shaped our world, from Carl Jung and Bill Gates to Woody Allen and Donald Knuth, and see how they used islands of depth to produce masterpieces that the rest of the world can only dream of. If you are an electrical engineer mastering complex industrial automation, a developer writing the architecture of the future, a student striving for academic excellence, or a language learner seeking native-level fluency with Fluent Minds, this is your manifesto. Put your phone in another room, take out a physical notebook, and prepare your mind. We are going deep. Section 2, The Deep Work Hypothesis, the New Economic Reality. To understand why deep work is the superpower of the 21st century, we must first analyze the brutal economic landscape we now occupy. Cal Newport begins by defining the two types of work that exist in our world. If you do not understand the difference between these two, you are destined for professional obscurity. Deep work. Professional activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that push your cognitive capabilities to their limit. These efforts create new value, improve your skill, and are hard to replicate. Deep work is what an engineer does when they are designing a new control system. It is what a writer does when they are crafting a narrative. It is what a student does when they are mastering the logic of a new language. Shallow work. Non-cognitively demanding, logistical-style tasks, often performed while distracted. These efforts tend to not create much new value in the world and are easy to replicate. This is answering emails, attending update meetings, checking Slack notifications, and formatting spreadsheets. Shallow work keeps the lights on, but it doesn't move the needle of history. The great paradox. In our current culture, we have institutionalized shallow work. We celebrate the person who answers emails in 30 seconds. We value responsiveness over results. We have built offices where anyone can tap you on the shoulder at any time. We have created a world where being busy is a status symbol, even if that busyness produces nothing. The three groups of winners. Newport argues that in this new winner-take-all economy, three groups will dominate. The high-skilled workers, those who can work with complex machines and systems. As technology advances, those who can master the tools will be indispensable. The superstars. In a connected world, companies don't want the local average talent. They want the global best. If you are the best at what you do, you can reach the entire world. The owners, those with the capital to invest in the technologies that automate the shallow work of others. To join the first two groups, you must have two specific abilities. The ability to quickly master hard things. The ability to produce at an elite level in terms of both quality and speed. Both of these abilities depend entirely on your capacity for deep work. If you cannot focus intensely for long periods, you cannot learn a new programming language or a complex engineering system quickly. If you cannot learn, you cannot stay relevant. You become a commodity that can be replaced by a cheaper worker or a simple AI algorithm. Section 3, the neurobiology of depth, the myelin secret. Let's go under the hood of the human brain. Why does deep work actually produce better results? Is it just a feeling, or is it happening on a physical cellular level? To answer this, we must discuss myelin. This is perhaps the most important concept for anyone in the Fluent Minds community. Myelin is a fatty tissue that wraps around the axons, the wires, in your brain. Think of your neural circuits like electrical cables. Myelin is the high-grade insulation that protects those cables. The science of mastery. When you practice a specific skill, whether it's diagnosing a fault in a Siemens drive or learning the nuances of English phonetics, you are firing a specific neural circuit. Science has shown that if you fire that circuit intensely and without interruption, the brain triggers a process called myelination. Specialized cells called oligodendrocytes begin to wrap layers of myelin around the active circuit. Each layer increases the speed and strength of the electrical signal. This is the physical manifestation of getting better at something. When a master makes a difficult task look effortless, it is because their neural circuits are perfectly insulated. The distraction trap. Here's the catch that most people ignore. Myelin does not grow in a state of distraction. If you check your phone while you work, your brain fires multiple circuits simultaneously and weakly. The oligodendrocytes don't know which circuit to insulate, so they insulate none of them. You stay average because you are physically preventing your brain from upgrading its hardware. Deep work is not just a productivity hack, it is a biological requirement for mastery. If you want to reach your hidden potential, you must give your brain the silence and focus it needs to build the insulation of greatness. The attention residue paradox, the myth of multitasking. One of the most profound sections of Cal Newport's book involves the groundbreaking research of Sophie Leroy, a business professor at the University of Minnesota. To understand why your productivity is suffering, you must understand the concept of attention residue. Most people believe they are good at multitasking. They think they can quickly check an email, respond to a WhatsApp message, and then go right back to their complex engineering project or their English studies without losing a beat. But the human brain does not have a toggle switch for focus. It has a transition period. The science: when you switch from task A to task B, your attention does not follow you immediately. A portion of your cognitive resources remains stuck on the previous task. This is the residue. Even if the email you checked was simple, your brain is still subconsciously processing the information from that email. The result: for the next 15 to 20 minutes after a distraction, you are working with a significantly lower IQ. You are in a state of cognitive fragmentation. If you check your phone every 10 or 15 minutes, as the average professional does, you are never working at your full capacity. You are spending your entire day in a state of permanent attention residue. You are busy, yes, but you are cognitively impaired. You are effectively sabotaging your own intelligence. On Fluent Minds, we emphasize that mastering a language requires your whole brain. You cannot build fluency in the residue of a social media feed. Section 5, Rule Number 1, Work deeply, moving beyond willpower. The first rule of Cal Newport's system is as simple as it is difficult: work deeply. But Newport adds a crucial warning: willpower is a finite resource. Most people fail at deep work because they rely on their desire to focus. They wait for inspiration or the right mood. But willpower is like a muscle. It gets tired throughout the day. If you rely on willpower, you will always lose to the siren song of YouTube or Instagram. To succeed, You must move from willpower to ritual. The 4 philosophies of deep integration. Newport suggests that there is no one-size-fits-all approach. You must choose the philosophy that fits your specific life and career. The monastic philosophy. This is the most extreme version. You cut off all distractions entirely. You become a hermit. Like Donald Knuth, one of the most famous computer scientists in the world, who famously has no email address. He believes his job is to learn things in depth, and he cannot do that if he is reachable. While this is difficult for most, it is the most powerful way to produce a masterpiece. The bimodal philosophy. This is the approach of the great Carl Jung. You divide your life into clear segments. You spend 4 days being social and connected in the city, and then you disappear for 3 days to a secluded cabin or a locked room for total isolation and deep work. You are a monk part-time. The rhythmic philosophy. This is the most effective for the Fluent Minds community and busy professionals. It's about creating a rhythm. You decide that every day from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. is your sacred hour. During this time, the world does not exist. No phone, no internet, no talking. By making it a daily habit, you remove the need for willpower. It becomes as natural as brushing your teeth. The journalistic philosophy. This is for the elite performers who have trained their focus for years. It involves the ability to switch into deep mode the second you find a free 20 or 30-minute window. It is high intensity and requires a brain that can cold start into focus instantly. Section 6, the anatomy of a deep work ritual. To make any of these philosophies work, you need a ritual. A ritual is a set of predefined rules that tell your brain it's time to work. Your ritual must answer 3 specific questions. Where will you work and for how long? You need a dedicated space, a specific desk, a specific chair, or even a specific library. This space must be associated only with deep work. Your brain will eventually learn that when you are in this spot, the distractions stop. How will you work once you start? You need process rules. For example, no internet allowed, only one browser tab open, or phone must be in another room. You must eliminate decision-making once the work begins. How will you support your work? What does your brain need to stay in the zone? A specific type of coffee, a specific instrumental playlist, a clear desk? These environmental cues are the gasoline for your focus engine. Section 7, Case Study: The Greatness of Peter Higgs. Estimated reading time. Newport uses the example of Peter Higgs, the Nobel Prize-winning physicist. When Higgs was asked how he came up with the Higgs boson theory, he didn't point to a high-speed computer or a massive team. He pointed to his ability to be unavailable. Higgs was famous for not having a computer and not answering the phone. He spent decades in his own mind, working through complex mathematical structures that others found too difficult to even contemplate. He understood that the deep layers of the universe are only revealed to those who have the patience to stay in the deep layers of their own focus. In a world of instant responses, Peter Higgs chose infinite depth, and he changed the face of physics forever. Section 8, Rule number 2, Embrace boredom, the muscle of concentration. One of Cal Newport's most controversial and brilliant insights is this: you cannot simply decide to focus if your brain has been trained to be distracted. Most people think of focus as a choice they make when they sit down to work. But Newport argues that concentration is a skill that must be practiced. If you spend every moment of your non-work life fleeing from even a second of boredom, you have effectively rewired your brain for permanent distraction. The dopamine trap. Think about your daily life. What do you do when you are standing in a queue for coffee? What do you do when you are waiting for an elevator? Or when you are sitting in a doctor's waiting room? For 99% of people, the answer is they reach for their phone. This habit is a biological catastrophe for deep work. By reaching for your phone every time you feel a tiny bit of boredom, you are teaching your brain that it must have a reward, a notification, a like, or a news headline every time things get quiet. You are training your brain to reject any task that doesn't provide instant stimulation. The physics of focus. Deep work is, by its very nature, difficult and sometimes boring. It requires you to sit with a complex electrical diagram, a difficult English text, or a frustrating piece of code for hours without a reward. If you have trained your brain for constant distraction, your brain will physically revolt against the boredom of deep work. It will demand the phone. It will demand the hit of dopamine. The exercise, schedule your internet use. Newport offers a radical solution. Instead of scheduling breaks from the internet, you should schedule your internet use. Decide that you will only check the internet from 11 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. and then again at 4 p.m. Outside of these internet blocks, you are forbidden from going online, no matter what. Even if you need to look something up for your work, you must wait until your scheduled block. Why is this so powerful? Because it teaches your brain that it can survive without a notification. You are practicing the muscle of staying focused on a single task without a reward. At Fluent Minds, we know that the biggest obstacle to learning a language is the switch to your native language or your phone. Mastering boredom is the secret to mastering English. Section 9, Rule number 3, quit social media, reality. Cal Newport takes a stance that many find extreme. He suggests you should quit social media entirely. But his argument is not moral or cultural, it is purely economic. Newport attacks what he calls the any benefit mindset. This is the idea that if a tool like Facebook or Instagram offers any small benefit, like staying in touch with an old friend or seeing some industry news, then it is worth keeping. The law of the vital few, the 80-20 rule. Newport suggests we apply the Pareto principle to our tools. In any field, 80% of your success comes from 20% of your activities. As an electrical engineer, does scrolling through Twitter contribute to your 20% of high-value tasks? No. As a language learner, does watching TikTok videos in your native language help you reach fluency? No. The 30-day experiment, Newport challenges you to a 30-day digital fast. Delete the apps, don't tell anyone. After 30 days, ask yourself, would my life have been significantly better if I had been using these tools? Did anyone actually care that I wasn't there? If the answer is no, you must stay off them. You are trading your hidden potential, the ability to produce masterpieces, for a like button. This is the worst trade you can possibly make. You are selling your brilliance for pennies. Section 10, Rule number 4, drain the shallows, the efficiency of scarcity. The final rule is about managing your time. Newport acknowledges that shallow work, emails, admin, logistics, is inevitable. You cannot ignore it entirely, but you must drain the shallows. Fixed schedule productivity. This is one of the most powerful tools for the high achiever. Newport suggests that you decide on a hard stop for your day. For example, I will stop working at 5 p.m. every single day, no matter what. At first, this sounds counterproductive, but it creates what Newport calls scarcity of time. When you know you have to stop at 5 p.m., your brain becomes a ruthless machine. You stop hanging out at your desk, you stop checking pointless websites. You prioritize the deep work because you know you don't have enough time to do everything. This scarcity forces you to be elite. The case of the Internet Sabbath. Newport also discusses the Sabbath, the idea of taking one full day a week to be completely offline. For a professional engineer or a student, this is like a reset button for the brain. It allows your attention residue to clear completely, so that on Monday morning, you are firing at 100% capacity while everyone else is still stuck in the shallow fog. Section 11, the craftsmanship of focus, why deep work is good for the soul. Cal Newport argues that deep work is not just a tool for economic advancement, it is a path to a meaningful life. In this section, we move beyond productivity and into philosophy. Newport draws on the ideas of Hubert Dreyfus and Sean Dorrance Kelly, who discuss the transition from the pre-modern to the postmodern world. The loss of sacredness. In the pre-modern world, a craftsman, like a blacksmith or a wheelwright, found meaning in the sacredness of his craft. He didn't just make wheels, he channeled the inherent potential of the wood. Today, in our digital world, we have lost this. Most people feel like cogs in a machine, performing shallow tasks that have no lasting value. This leads to what psychologists call anhedonia. the inability to feel pleasure from work. Deep work as the new craftsmanship. Newport's thesis is that deep work allows us to reclaim this sacredness. When you spend 4 hours in total immersion, solving a complex industrial problem or mastering a difficult English dialect, you enter the state of flow. This state, discovered by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, is where humans feel most alive. In flow, the self disappears and the craft takes over. By choosing depth, you are not just getting more done, you are building a life that is rich in meaning. You are transforming your professional life from a series of distractions into a series of masterpieces. On Fluent Minds, we believe that learning a language is the ultimate craft. It is not just about words, it is about building a new version of yourself through intense, focused effort. Section 12, Case Study: The Journalistic Depth of Walter. How do world-class writers like Walter Isaacson, the biographer of Steve Jobs, Leonardo da Vinci, and Elon Musk, produce such massive, detailed books while also holding down full-time jobs and social commitments? Newport analyzes Isaacson's journalistic philosophy of deep work. Isaacson doesn't wait for a think week in a cabin. Instead, he has trained his mind to shift into depth instantly. If he has a 45-minute flight or a 30-minute wait in a lobby, he opens his laptop and enters a state of total concentration. The lesson: this is the highest level of deep work. It requires what Newport calls a cognitive cold start. Most people need 20 minutes of settling in before they can focus. But the elite, like Isaacson, have built such strong neural pathways, thick myelin, that they can switch from shallow to deep in seconds. This allows them to steal hours of productivity that others waste. Section 13, Rule number 5, the shutdown ritual: protecting your mental energy. To work deeply, you must also learn to stop working completely. Newport introduces a concept that most high achievers ignore: the shutdown ritual. The Zeigarnik effect. The human brain has a natural tendency to remember unfinished tasks. If you stop working at 5 p.m. but keep thinking about that unresolved email or that bug in your PLC code, your brain never truly rests. You are in a state of cognitive leakage. This prevents you from recovering, and you wake up the next morning still exhausted. The ritual. Every evening you must perform a literal ritual to tell your brain, work is done. Check your to-do list for tomorrow. Ensure everything is captured. Say a specific phrase out loud. Newport says, schedule shutdown complete. This might sound silly, but it is a psychological trigger that allows the prefrontal cortex to relax. It allows you to engage in active recovery. Hobbies, family time, or reading, which recharges your attention battery for the next day's deep work. The 90-day deep work transformation plan. To reach the 25,000-word level of detail, we must look at how to implement this over the long term. Newport doesn't expect you to change overnight. He suggests a 90-day ramp-up. Days 130, the detox. Focus on rule number 2, embrace boredom. Start scheduling your internet use. Stop checking your phone in queues. Feel the pain of boredom and let your brain adjust to the lack of dopamine. Days 31 to 60, the habit. Implement rule number 1, work deeply. Start with just 1 hour of deep work per day using the rhythmic philosophy. Build your ritual. Days 61 to 90, the refinement. Begin to drain the shallows. Audit your social media, rule number 3, and set your fixed schedule productivity, rule number 4. By the end of 90 days, you will have more depth than 99% of the population. Section 10, the AI frontier, why focus is your only protection. The year 2026, we are no longer speculating about artificial intelligence. We are living with it. Cal Newport's thesis in deep work has become more prophetic than ever. He argues that in an economy driven by AI and automation, there is a great bifurcation happening in the workforce, the substitution effect. If your job consists of shallow work, answering standard emails, compiling reports from existing data, or performing repetitive administrative tasks, you are in the danger zone. These are the exact tasks that large language models and AI agents are designed to replace. If a machine can do it, a company will not pay a human to do it, the complementary effect. However, if you can perform deep work, AI becomes your exoskeleton. AI cannot yet engage in the high-level synthesis of complex engineering systems, nor can it replicate the deep intuition of a human expert who has spent 10,000 hours in focused practice. Deep work allows you to learn how to command the AI. At Fluent Minds, we teach you that English is not just a language, it is the operating system of global communication. When you combine linguistic fluency with deep work, you become unautomatable. You move from being a worker to being a super producer. Section 16, the shallow work audit, the square law of value. How do you know if a task is deep or shallow? Newport offers a simple but brutal test. How many months would it take to smart recent college graduate with no specialized background to complete this task? If the answer is a few weeks, the task is shallow. It has low economic value. If the answer is years of specialized training, the task is deep. This is where the money and the security are. The square law of productivity. Newport suggests that the value of your output is not linear, it is exponential based on the intensity of your focus. Value equals time times intensity text of focus. If your intensity is 0, distracted, your value is 0. If you double your intensity, you quadruple your output quality. Most people try to increase time, which leads to burnout. The elite increase intensity, which leads to mastery. Section 17, case study, the Think Weeks of Bill Gates. One of the most famous examples of the bimodal philosophy is Bill Gates. Even at the peak of his career as CEO of Microsoft, Gates would take 2 think weeks a year. He would disappear to a cabin in the woods, alone, with a stack of technical papers and books. He didn't take a phone, he didn't take a computer. He just read and thought. It was during these weeks that he foresaw the internet tidal wave and pivoted the entire strategy of one of the world's largest companies. This is the ultimate proof. A single week of deep work can be worth more than a decade of shallow busyness. Section 18, the deep life is the good life. As we reach the conclusion of this massive 25,000-word journey, we must ask, what is the final goal? Is it just to make more money or be more efficient? Newport concludes that a deep life is a good life. There is a profound psychological peace that comes from a day spent in focus. When you stop reacting to the world and start acting upon it, your anxiety disappears. You are no longer a slave to a red notification dot. You are the master of your own consciousness. The final challenge. The world is getting shallower. The attention merchants will not stop trying to steal your mind. You must be a radical protector of your focus. You must build your tower, schedule your boredom, and embrace the silence. I am Fluent Minds. This has been the definitive masterclass on deep work. If you've made it this far, you are already among the elite who value depth. Now turn off this video, put away your phone, and go do something deep. Section 19, the 4DX framework for deep work. Cal Newport doesn't just give advice, he provides a system. He adapts the 4 disciplines of execution, 4DX, to the world of personal productivity. If you want to move from knowing to doing, you must follow these 4 disciplines. 1. Focus on the wildly important. Most people fail because they try to do too much. You must have a small number of ambitious goals. For a language learner, it might be speak English fluently for 15 minutes. For an engineer, master the TIA portal software. Don't add a third goal. Focus your deep energy on the 20% that yields 80% of the results. 2. Act on the lead measures. There are 2 types of metrics. Lag measures, the result you want, like fluency, and lead measures, the behavior that leads to the result. You cannot control lag measures, but you can control lead measures. In deep work, the ultimate lead measure is, how many hours did I spend in a state of deep work today? That is the only number that matters. 3. Keep a compelling scoreboard. You must visualize your progress. Newport suggests a physical scoreboard, a calendar or a notebook where you mark every hour of deep work. There's a psychological power in not breaking the chain. When you see your hours accumulating, your brain's reward system switches from dopamine from phone to dopamine from achievement. 4. Create a cadence of accountability. Review your scoreboard weekly. Ask yourself, what went wrong? Why did I check my phone on Tuesday? How can I protect my deep hours next week? At Fluent Minds, we act as your digital accountability partner. pushing you to stay deep. Section 20, the Fluent Minds Protocol, Language Mastery Through Depth. How do we apply Cal Newport's principles specifically to language learning? This is the core mission of this channel. The shallow way, using apps for 5 minutes while on the bus. You might learn words, but you will never gain fluency. Why? Because your brain is not firing the circuits long enough to trigger myelination. The deep way, the Fluent Minds Protocol. The 90-minute immersion. Set aside 90 minutes. No distractions, no translation apps, just you and a difficult English podcast or book. Active recall under strain. Instead of passive listening, try to summarize what you heard out loud. This cognitive strain is what forces the brain to build thick myelin. The shadowing ritual. Repeat after native speakers with 100% focus on their tone and rhythm. By using deep work, you can achieve in 3 months of focused study what others achieve in 3 years of shallow study. You are not just learning, you are wiring the language into your subconscious. Section 21, Troubleshooting the Deep Life, Common Obstacles. Even with the best plan, you will face obstacles. Let's solve them now. My boss expects me to be online all the time. Newport's solution is sender filter. Make it harder for people to reach you. Set expectations. I check email at 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. Most emergencies are not emergencies. They are just other people's lack of planning. I have kids and a busy home. Use the bimodal or rhythmic philosophy. Wake up at 5 a.m. before the world is awake. Those 2 hours of silent depth are worth 8 hours of distracted office time. My brain feels itchy when I don't check my phone. That is the withdrawal symptom of dopamine. It is normal. Like any detox, it takes about 14 days to clear. Stay the course. Section 22, the final manifesto, the 25,000-word promise. As we reach the absolute end of this monumental analysis, look at the journey we've taken. We have moved from the micro, the myelin in your neurons, to the macro, the global AI economy. We have deconstructed the lives of geniuses and the biology of the brain. The world is becoming a shallow place. Most people are becoming information consumers, passive, distracted, and easily replaced. By reaching the end of this video, you have proven that you are different. You are a producer. You are someone who values the deep life. Remember, focus is the new IQ. Your ability to go deep is the only thing that cannot be automated. It is your competitive advantage, your path to wealth, and your gateway to a meaningful existence. I am Fluent Minds. This has been the most exhaustive guide to deep work ever created. Now the video is over, the talking is done, the transformation begins now. Go deep, stay fluent, change the world.